This is the Soma Cube assembly video. So what you can see right now on the screen is what your Soma Cube will look like when it's fully assembled. You might have a different solution to yours, but the layout is going to be the same regardless. So one thing you see here is that I have all my pieces colored. I did that so it would be easier for you to tell which pieces are which, because piece A and piece B, when you're looking at them real quick, they do look fairly similar. So to change the color, you can go to your piece, and then you can see right here. So where it says features, and just go all the way down to parts and part one, right click, edit appearance, and then you can pick your colors. So if you want to match yours up to the same colors I have here, so therefore your colors will, it'll be easier for you to lay everything out. I picked the fourth row down and the first 7 colors. So this would be piece 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then the kind of light purpley color, I skipped that one, the pinky purple, but I did the rest of them. All right, so that's what I did for all my pieces. So I just went through and did that for all of them. Okay. Some of you might still have your assembly 1 at the bottom. Some of you might have deleted it. I used mine up and used it as a test just to get that beginning image. So what you can do if you don't have assembly 1 still, you can just click on Insert New Element and then create assembly. All right, so what we can do from here is go to Insert. So there's 2 different ways you can kind of do this. One, you can place everything in all at once, or you can place in as you go along. For this video, just for simplicity's sake, I'm going to place them in one at a time as I'm using them, but I will leave it up to you for if you want to place all of them in at once, or if you want to go one at a time. All right, so the first piece I'm going to start with is piece 7P. Okay, and you can use your scroll wheel on your mouse to kind of zoom in and out and place it. So I click once to place it. I'm going to click my green check mark. The reason why I'm doing that is now I want to lock this in place, because if I click on it, I can scoot it around. Well, I don't want to have that. So instead, I'm going to right click, and then I'm going to use fix. So we can see that we now have this little symbol there. So this, if I click on it and try to scoot it around, it's stuck in place. The reason why I want to do this is because when I check it later on to see if my parts are fully attached and I click on a part and wiggle my mouse, if I have one piece fixed in space, then if the piece I'm clicking on and wiggling doesn't move, then I know it's fully constrained. Okay, so I'm going to just go to my next slide right here. So the next one I bring in is our T. So I can go to Insert, and that's piece 3, T. I'm going to place it in. Okay, and now I'm going to click the green check mark. So now I can see this piece. So this one just happens to line up nicely, but if I just place it right here, well, I can still move it. So what I need to do is use this tool right here. So it's Planar Mate. So what this does is it selects the surfaces and lines them up together. So what I'm going to do is select, okay, you don't want one at these edges. You want the center of our T, and then I want the center of this block right here. It could be this one or this one because they're at the same layer, but I'm just going to pick this one. All right, so right now it kind of mushed everything together. If you click solve when we have more of them, it'll shift it back and forth, but right now since we only have one, we can just click our green check mark. Okay, I'm going to exit out of that just so I can show you what's going on. So right now it looks like it's still moving all around. But if I go from the right, well, you can see how it's not moving side to side. It's just up and down. So there are 3 different planes that this can move on. So the X, Y, and Z. So we need to lock it down for all 3 of those directions. So I'm going to turn mine to the right view. And now I have this surface right here and this surface that I want to have lined up with each other. So I'm going to go to the right side again. I'm going to go to my Planar Mate. I'm going to click on the center, click on the center. I'm going to tilt it just so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, so right now it kind of looks all messed up again. I backed out of the tool just so I can show you. Now I can scoot this up. So now all I can do is move it up and down. And that's it. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I want this surface and the bottom surface to touch each other. So I'm going to go back to my planar mate. I'm going to click the center of this surface. I'm going to tip my view and then get the center. All right, so now I got it connected. Okay, so I'm going to exit out of that. So you can see we have planar 1, 2, and 3. So we locked it down in the X, Y, and Z. So if I click on my part, it's not going anywhere. All right, so next we're going to bring in, okay, insert. All right, we're going to bring in A. So piece 5A, I kind of colored it the teal color. Okay, I'm going to zoom out a little bit just so I can place this so it's not overlapping. Oh, come on, computer. There it goes. My computer froze for a second. All right. Oh, another thing, if you're on a computer with a mouse, the scroll wheel, if you click on it and scoot your mouse around, you're panning, or at least that's what it's called. It's basically like as if you touch the page and you're scooting your page around. All right, so now what we need to do, you can see how I have this turned. I need to turn my part. So these two sides are going to be this on the same plane. So let me start there. So I need this surface and this surface. I'm going to click solve. Nope, that didn't help me see what's going on. All right, so I'm going to click OK. All right. So, oh, I see what happened. I want it to go the other direction. Okay. Or not. Maybe I did have it right. Yep, I did have it right originally. It's just sometimes when you're flipping these around, it's a little hard to see what's going on. Okay. Oh, it tipped itself. That's why. All right, so now I need to tip this side down. So this is one of those things you're just going to need to kind of get used to seeing. So I'm going to get these two sides. I want it to be flipped the other way. See, this is what I was checking before because I couldn't tell if it was going the way I wanted it to or not. So if you're unsure, you can flip primary axis. So it's just flipping it back and forth. And then it looks like it's all set because it's attached, but it can still move up and down. So attaching your part A and part B is probably going to be the hardest part just because they're so similar and they're kind of weird shaped. Okay, so you can see how even when I was connecting it, I had a teeny bit of an issue there. All right, so clicking here and clicking here because I want those two. Oh, well, that's not what I want, so I'm going to click solve. Now, why did it do that? All right, that one's not working. So instead, we're going to use these two. There we go. A little bit happier with that one. Sometimes you might have it where when you click on it, it just does something unexpected, like flip RT to a different section. But in the end, we can get it to where we want it to go. All right. So next, we're going to bring in, let's see, insert piece 6B. So I'm going to just place that right there. Okay. Oop, I'm zooming in the wrong direction. All right, so taking a look at our piece. This one might be a little bit hard for you to see, but I want this surface connected right here. Oh, and now I can tell that it's definitely facing the wrong way. So I'm going to flip it and then say, yep, that's what I want. Okay. So I can see here it's rotated the wrong way because this kind of L piece is facing up. I want it to face to the side. So what I can do, so if we go this way, we want this surface to be lined up with this surface. So what we're going to do is click, okay, this one's a little tricky, so you're going to want to zoom in there. You want this edge, not that one. Or not edge, but the center. All right, and then same thing with this one. Okay. Well, I am terrible at zooming. Okay. Let's see, solve. Yep, so that's what I want. All right, so it's getting there. Now it's rotated properly, but if I look at it, you can still move up and down. So if I turn again, I can see that these three need to be at the same height. So I can take my teal and my blue and line them up. Okay, so I need that center and that center. Solve. Oh, I'm too close to see what's going on. And yep, that's what I want. All right, so we can see that that is lined up the same way. Okay, I'm going to go to my next one, which would be, oh, all right, so insert, piece 4Z. Well, I need to zoom out. All right, so looking at our piece, okay, so we can see that this edge needs to be attached to this. Okay, so we're going to get the center, and we get the center of this little purple piece. All right, so unfortunately it's flipping the wrong way, so we just need to flip it the way we want it to be. Okay, so right now it's rotated the wrong way, so we need to tip it up. So we need to zoom in here and get our top surface. Oh, did I not click? There we go. All right. And I click solve, and okay. So it's not exactly where I want it to be yet. I need it to shift over to there. So I'm going to turn. And let's see, I want the center of this and center of that. Oh, I'm going to click solve. Okay, that's what I want it to look like. So green check mark. All right, so I haven't checked this in a while, but I'm just going to check to make sure my parts aren't loose. Nope, everything looks good. Okay, second to last piece. So insert piece 1V. Okay, so we can see this is at the wrong angle, but this top surface is going to line up here. So let's do that first. So top surface there, top surface there. Okay, so the two pieces are kind of inside of each other. You can see it by the weird mush of both of those. I'm going to move it over here. So we can see then we need to rotate our part. So this surface and this surface need to touch. So we can get the center and center. All right, I'm going to click solve. That's facing the wrong way, so I need to flip it. Solve. Okay, that's the way that I want it to be. So green check mark. Okay, now I need this surface just to line up with that one. So solve again. So now I can see it's where I want it to be. Green check mark. I'm going to just exit out of that. So now let's click on the red piece, and it's stuck in place. Now for our last piece. So insert. So piece 2L, place that in, and oh, I should zoom out a little bit so we can see what's going on here. So I need that to be on the top, so we can see that this needs to be level with these. So my center of that, oh, I might need to zoom in more. There we go. Oh, I can see that that is not sticking the way I want it to, so I'm going to flip it. Okay, now it's rotated the wrong way, but it's closer to where I want it to be. So I know that I want the center of this to be lined up with the center of that. Oh, it's still facing the wrong way, so we need to do this. Solve. Okay, so I'm going to back out of the tool just because it's kind of mushed. It's hard to see what's going on. So you can see it's still sliding, but it's almost fully constrained. So I'm just going to place it roughly where it needs to go, and then I can lock it in place with my last. Ooh, well, that flipped weird. Let's see if solve fixes it. Yep. Okay. Now that was my last constraint, so now all of it is attached. All right. So now that we have all of that attached, what we can do is do an exploded view. So if you're like, what in the world is an exploded view? An exploded view is going to be this right here. Okay, so it's where we take our object and pull it apart into the different components, and we can see each individual piece as a separate component instead of a piece of our entire cube. All right, so exploded view is right here. So click right here, add exploded view. The first time I did this, for some reason, it took a while to show up and I couldn't click on the button. Not exactly sure why. So it might be something of I was just working a little too quickly and it just didn't load fully. So if your button isn't there, it should be there in like a minute or two. So click add exploded view. All right, and then also I'm going to say you wanted to go to isometric. So the reason why you want to go to isometric is, let me go back to my drawing. This end view is going to be isometric. And when you click on the cube, it's going to go to trimetric, where when you pull your pieces apart, it's going to look like they're not overlapping at all. But then when you go over to your drawing, they're overlapping sometimes. I actually had that issue the first time I made it. So what we're going to do is we can click on our component that we want to move. And then we have three options. So our X, Y, and Z arrows. So I'm just going to click on the arrow and scoot it over. And then because it's where I want it to be, or at least where I think I want it to be, I'm going to click on the green check mark. If you're like, wait a second, I need to move it elsewhere and I need to change up. And actually, let me just do full screen on that because we don't need to see all the pieces right now. So I think that's good. So now I'm going to click off to the side. Let's see, I'm going to pull this piece. I'm going to move it down. That's probably good. And I'm just going to keep doing this for all the pieces. All right, and then some of you might have noticed that there's also this other piece. It's where you can spin it around. That's not what we want to do, so don't spin your part. So I'm going to move this over here. And then, oops. So if you happen to click on another piece before clicking the green check mark, it's going to pull the other piece with it. So it's going to assume that you want to move all of them the same distance, which I did not. So I need to redo that one. All right, my green check mark, and now I can move my last piece. Okay. All right, so this looks good. So now what I can do is make my drawing for this. So we are going to, oh, and also, even though like we have assembly one and we're only gonna have one assembly, you're gonna want to rename and just put assembly SOMA cube. So then when you're going to it and looking at it, you're like, oh, that's the one I'm looking at. Because some of the files that you might do later in the year might have more than one assembly, and you're gonna be like, okay, which one's assembly one, which one's assembly two? It's just all in one place. And they are nicely named, hopefully. So create drawing. Again, we just want ANSI A inch. And if you can't find that, you can click on here or show Onshape drawing templates. All right. Now I gotta wait for it to load. Okay. So before, when we were doing all our work drawings, we can add all these pieces individually, but this time we want to go to assemblies. Oh, so my generating preview. So you can see my test one I was working on originally, and that's another reason why you want to name your files so you don't have just one uh, file where you're like not sure what it is. Okay, so adding this in. This time I want to make sure that it is added in isometrically. Okay, and for this one, 1 to 2 works just fine. So we can click to add here. Okay, and then I am going to project view for this one. And you might need to use the projected view tool. You just click on the first view and then place the second one in. So some of you are probably wondering, how in the world did I get those colors in? Just hit escape on the keyboard to back out of the projected view tool, right click, and show shaded view. Takes a second to show up. There it goes. And you gotta do it for the other one. Oops, it's off the screen there. Oh, where'd it go? I'll find it in a second. Okay, so to bring in our exploded view, we are gonna go to right here, exploded, position, exploded one. All right, and oh, we want it isometric, not front. And we got everything in, so click. All right, so right click, show shaded view. Wonder why this one's not showing in shaded. There it goes. Okay, so I'm not quite sure why the first time I added in my isometric assembled view it wasn't working. But if that happens to you too, just delete it and then use the projected view, and then it should come in colored just like mine did. Not sure why that happened. All right, and then we can change our name here. Oop. So Soma Cube Assembly for our title. And then for our drawing number, just going to put the same thing. Okay, and since I figured out how to change the color of our drawings, the nice thing is we can go back to one of our previous drawings. So I'm just going to go to, let's see, where is one of my previous ones? Oh, here we go. So I'm in my drawing 2L, and I can right click, or not right click. Okay, maybe it's doing the same thing as before. All right, let me bring that view back in. Not sure why it's being a little buggy. There it goes. Okay, so now we can show shaded view. So the button I clicked for some reason to get that to work was update from workspace. So that would bring in the new color change. So if I go over to this other one, this one's letting me right click. Okay, so maybe it just didn't load fully on my end. Sometimes that happens. We're working through the cloud here. So show shaded view. And you can see how this one is not the same color as my drawing as before. So if I update, instead of that default like light blue, I now have my teal. So you can go to all your work drawings and update that piece. All right. So if you have any questions, just let me know, and good luck.